Welcome everyone to episode 32 of the Business of Sport. My name is Ahmed El Houli. As usual, I'm your host, and today we have a very special guest, one of Australia's leading journalists, Mr. Tony Sheehan. Tony, how are you, buddy? How's things?
Great to be back with you on Sports Finder.
Tony, it's an absolute pleasure, mate. We have had an action-packed week in the world of the business of sport. Lots happening. Let's dig straight into it. Let's get into the fun facts and let's get going. Number one, Jake Paul and Nate Diaz will be squaring off August the 5th, this Saturday night at the American Airlines Center in Dallas. Huge fight. Definitely a moneymaker. The payouts, sports payouts reported that Paul could earn up to $2 million, while Diaz could earn a guaranteed purse of $500,000. Now, that's without, pay-per-view points, so on and so on. Now, listen to this. More than 20,000 people pre-registered for access to buy tickets, right? Ridiculous. The whole venue fits about 20,000 people. And then, as we go deeper, Diaz got offered $10 million to fight Paul in an MMA bout following their clash, right? This here is a master move within itself because that fight would fall under the PFL, which is a competitor with the UFC. The PFL also signed Francis Ngannou recently and set huge headlines and helped Francis get his fight with Tyson Fury. So Diaz is a free agent. He can fight wherever he wants. This is going to be an option. There's huge money for him to be made here. But now, let's not move away from this fight here. Now, Jake Paul is an internet sensation. 20 million subscribers on YouTube. Tens of millions of subscribers on other social networks. This fight's going to be televised on the Zone, pay-per-view around the globe. What a fight, Tony.
Well, you've just basically taken all of my information, Ahmed, but to elaborate on what you've just told everybody, the numbers are amazing. I'm actually surprised that Jake Paul would only get $2 million to fight and Nate Diaz $500,000. Now, for those who are unaware, Jake Paul is the YouTube sensation who is going to fight, as you said, Nate Diaz this weekend in Dallas. And it's going to be for his 8th fight. He's 6-1. Nate Diaz is without a fight. He is a UFC star. This is going to be his first event in a boxing ring, and it's going to be huge. So, as you said, talking about ticket prices, they started from $55 in the nosebleeds, and then would go all the way up to $1,000 US, which would obviously be probably down on the floor and close to the ring. But we must say to all the listeners and viewers out there that already on SeatGeek, which is a resale outlet, they're as high as $7,400 US for one ticket. So the interest around this fight is enormous. So whoever is marketing this is an absolute genius because these two will fight in a boxing ring. And as you so eloquently said, they will then do a rematch in a UFC octagon. Now, this is brilliant because you will fight in Jake Paul's familiarity, being the four walls of a boxing ring, and then go into Nate Diaz's home, for whatever word, and then Jake Paul will have to then fight Diaz at his preferred
sport,
martial arts.
Yeah.
It's huge. So they've taken away from Vegas. They've gone into Dallas, as you said, at the American Airlines Center. I think it's going to be a massive fight, and I think the numbers will be huge. I know we spoke earlier about Spence versus Crawford, which took place in Las Vegas last week, but this is more of an entertainment. I know it's going to be full-on boxing, but as we know, Jake Paul, who fought Mayweather in the past, made millions.
That was his brother Logan, yeah.
Sorry?
Logan fought Mayweather.
Oh, sorry, Logan.
Yeah. Jake fought Woodley, the former UFC champ, and Askren and he fought Anderson Silva, and he beat them, and then he lost to Tommy Fury, which is the brother of Tyson Fury.
Yes.
So,
Sorry, apologies.
yeah,
So the numbers by itself are absolutely enormous. Jake Paul has 20.4 million YouTube subscribers. Nate Diaz 336,000. Now, I mean, Jake Paul is an internet sensation, and for Nate Diaz to have 336,000 subscribers on YouTube is nothing to scoff at. They are big numbers, and I think the marketing people behind this have been genius.
absolutely. So the key here is not the purses. The purse is only what they have to declare to the sanctioning body, right? So what happens is most of the money is going to be made from the pay-per-view points. The goal here with going with DAZN, that's a global network now. The goal here is to get the 1 million plus pay-per-views. That's when they're all going to make a lot of money. Now, this will be a record-breaking purse or earning for Nate Diaz if it passes the 1 million mark. Now, just for context, DAZN, for those of you that haven't heard of it, is no small network. It's backed by a huge billionaire. It just signed the rights to the NFL international pass, the NFL pass now on a global level. So they definitely have the distribution, they have the reach, and this could well and truly go past the million pay-per-view buys. And if it does, it's going to make Nate Diaz and Jake Paul a lot of money.
And for those who want to log on, I think this is only for the Americans for DAZN, DAZN, which we see on the microphone being used by the commentators. For existing subscribers, it'll be a $19.99 purchase. And for new subscribers, it'll be $39.99. But Ahmed, tell all the listeners and the viewers where they can watch it for instance, in the UK or Australia or the Philippines.
DAZN also is in those markets. So you can also watch it in those markets. And as of late, I heard ESPN has also jumped on as a partner. So it's the reach is there, the distribution is there. This is going to be an absolute spectacle.
So what do you think the numbers could be in terms of generating not only, I mean, we think it's probably going to be a sellout on Saturday night in Dallas.
The arena will be a sellout. Like that's 100%.
So in terms of what can each fighter look to make from this fight alone?
Well, if you look at the numbers, a million at $39.99, let's say even at 20, right? Let's go at the 20. That's $20 million there, right? Million. That's from pay-per-view alone, right? So if it's sponsors, so on, so on. I reckon Nate Diaz can walk away because they usually stack the top of these cards and the rest of the fighters, they don't really get too much. I reckon Nate Diaz can walk away with about 4 or 5 million. And I reckon Jake will walk away with about 10, 15.
Wow. So, and just for comparison's sake, Nate Diaz is 38 and Jake Paul is 26.
Yeah, but Nate Diaz made his name recently against Conor in 2016, where Jake Paul has made his name on the internet. So he's got subscribers all over the world, where Nate's only known in the fighting world. And he's become a bit more mainstream as of late, but Jake Paul's got definitely the larger following.
Well, and YouTube has become a force within itself. And I know you and I spoke off camera earlier in terms of they've got deals with the NBA and the NFL. They are enormous.
Absolutely. YouTube TV bought the Sunday ticket from the NFL, and they're paying $2.5 billion annually for that. Now, for those that follow, people know that the Sunday ticket is a very, very popular segment, I would call it.
Broadcast?
Broadcast. And pretty much what they've also done is that they're going to allow people to reuse the content to create shorts on YouTube. So they're finding innovative ways to really make the most of this content and have people engage with it. So YouTube's definitely all over sport at the moment. They're looking at getting more involved from what I understand, and they're definitely the future. And we'll talk about this more in one of our upcoming talking points in this episode.
Yeah, just one by extension, and both for all the listeners out there, both you and I are based in Australia. Do you wonder why the AFL didn't do a similar deal with YouTube?
Australia's a few years behind the US. I'd say so. The way I look at the Australian market is I judge it based on the 4-year political cycle. Political trends in Australia happen 4 years after they happen in the United States. I think we're about 4 or 5 years away from that happening.
That's an incredible insight.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, all right. Moving on. Next one's a really big one, actually. One of the biggest brands in the world. Manchester United signs a $1 billion plus Adidas kit deal. This is huge. Manchester United has over 500 million fans around the world. Adidas is paying 150 million more pounds than its previous 10-year deal with Manchester United. Adidas returned to be Manchester United's kit supplier in 2015, with that deal then being at 750 million pounds. The current deal has gone up to 900 million pounds. Converted to US, it's over $1 billion US. There's a minimum cash guarantee of 900 million pounds across the 10 years. This new deal is believed to have a key focus on the Manchester United women's team, just like the current trend in sports, a lot more focus on women's sports. There's also a few key points in this deal where yearly payments are pretty much determined on their participation in the Champions League. So the annual payments will be reduced by 30% if Manchester United fail to qualify for the Champions League in two consecutive seasons. Now, let's look at we've looked at the numbers. Let's look at how many jerseys they've sold. In 2021, they sold 1.95 million jerseys. So 1,950,000 jerseys in 2021. In 2022, here comes CR7, Cristiano Ronaldo. They sold 3.2 million jerseys.
That's nearly doubling the amount of jerseys from the previous year.
Unbelievable. So now we're left with this new deal that's been increased by about 150 million. So that increase is warranted because look at the numbers, right? But the challenge is going to be now, how do you maintain somewhere along that line? Not the double, maybe half the double. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, but Ronaldo is a Nike boy. We all know that. He's with the swoosh. Adidas coming into Manchester United. I get the feeling after doing a lot of homework on this, they want to take over Nike's mantle as being the most dominant sportswear outfit on the planet. I know we're speaking about Under Armour later, but Adidas is on the World Cup women's soccer ball at the moment for the World Cup, which is being played here in Australia. And I think they actually want to dethrone Nike. The other part of the equation is don't discount David Beckham, Lionel Messi, and Kanye West having an enormous impact for the three stripes. We've seen Beckham, he's been with Adidas for some 20 years, I think. And Messi, I think, at a guess, around 15. And these two are worldwide figureheads for the sporting apparel giant. So, with obviously Beckham having a significant stake in Inter Miami and getting Messi there, Adidas is probably going to try and reinvigorate themselves in the US market. And let's not discount what Kanye West and by extension the Kardashians have done for Adidas, by extension the Yeezy market.
Absolutely. And speaking of the US market, Lionel Messi will sell a couple of million jerseys.
Just alone.
Yeah. Adidas into Miami Adidas jerseys because, sorry?
Oh, what I was just going to say is how many people, be it soccer fans or sports lovers across the globe, would have heard of Inter Miami prior to the past fortnight?
No one. Many. And just to put it in context for you, Inter Miami now have a bigger Instagram following than all 29 teams in the MLS.
Oh, wow, that is enormous.
So this is what you're dealing with here. So this jersey, so if you look at the global landscape, Ronaldo is a Nike boy, but when he plays for Manchester, he's playing in an Adidas jersey.
Yes.
So he's selling Adidas jerseys, right? So that's why if you go off the numbers that he presented, right, which was almost double the year before, very, very close to. If we look at the cut that Adidas gets from that, it's only about 10%. It's literally about £10 that they make from that £80 transaction. It's about £80. They make about £10. Right?
But still, so at 3.2 million sales, 10% is a lot of money.
Exactly. So they make about from Ronaldo, they made about £30 million. So what we're looking at here is if we compare the size of the deal and the return on that investment, it's a no-brainer. Manchester United is one of the biggest clubs in the world, if not the biggest, right? And if I tell you who sells more than Manchester United, you'll freak out.
Is it the Dallas Cowboys?
No, it's in terms of football, we're talking Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Liverpool, and then Manchester United.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the landscape. I think that's a huge win for Adidas. And if the Qataris end up buying Adidas at the $6 billion price, that's going to be huge for Adidas because the amount of investment that the Qataris will put into Manchester United is going to raise their profile even more. And it being a 10-year deal, that's going to be a bargain.
I totally agree. The other thing is, which I think it is, with £100 million per year for the next 10 years, which will take them through to 2035, it'll be great for the women, but also it's great for the future of sport. We are living in such an uncertain time at the moment with the political landscape worldwide, with these people at the top of the tree investing so much money. It proves that live sport is going to take us into the future, which is actually a really good feeling.
Absolutely. And considering everything else is going down in value, sporting teams are the most secure alternative assets right now. And that's why there's so many billionaires fighting to actually buy them.
Exactly. And the other thing is, on a slightly smaller scale, is Rupert Murdoch investing through his Fox Sports channel into the NFL and into the World Cup 2 years ago, and also to Australian sport. It just proves what we've been saying.
Absolutely. All right, we'll keep going. Well, FIFA Plus expands to a connected TV and multiple fast channel platforms. This is a big one. And the reason why is because FIFA Plus debuted last year. It welcomed 211 million unique users for the FIFA World Cup in Qatar.
Yep.
And it had 190 million views on match recaps. Pretty much people watching curated highlights of games. Huge, massive numbers.
So just to elaborate for our viewers and listeners, just explain to it how that works for the common person.
So FIFA Plus was just an application that you download on your phone, right? That you could stream by mirroring to a bigger device, or you can watch it on your phone. After every game, what they did was they would curate highlights for each game. So people that missed out on the full game, they'd just go watch those highlights. They had 190 million views on match recaps. They had 211 million users on the actual app during the actual FIFA World Cup. Huge numbers. Now, what this does is it makes it a lot more accessible because now they're on all these new TV apps: Samsung TV, LG, Vita, Amazon Fire, and Android TV. They're also on all these new fast channel platforms like Samsung TV Plus, LG channels, Vita channels, the Roku channel, and Rakuten TV.
Yeah, but what's
Now,
the one company that you haven't mentioned there?
Apple.
Correct.
Apple Plus is a different ballgame altogether, and we can talk about that after this point. So what this does is now is every smart TV in today's world has these apps and has these channels. So now I don't have to watch it on my phone and mirror screen it onto my. No, it's all there. It's on my TV. That's a lot more easier to watch, a lot more accessible. So that's only going to increase the amount of users. All right. So now Tony wants to have a big watch party. Everyone come and watch. Whether it's the Women's World Cup, that's right now, it's been streamed in 50 plus countries on FIFA Plus, including Brazil, Japan, and the Netherlands. Or it's the under 19s or the under 21s or all these other tournaments that FIFA holds. So now, slowly, we're seeing FIFA position themselves into this global media mogul. Now, my question to you, Mr. Sheehan, is this: how do you see this impacting its future discussions and negotiations with media broadcasters?
It's a really good question. They have become the most powerful sporting body on the planet. We know that the NFL is a leviathan in its deals, but what I've noticed in my research over the past few days since the Women's World Cup has taken place is soccer. Now that they've rid themselves of corruption and payments and under the table deals, what I've noticed is they are making a full onslaught into the existing customers and the future of the game. And why I think that is because the kids of today aren't brought up like the kids of yesteryear. They're not as tough. They don't like physicality as much as we did 10, 20, 100 years ago. Soccer isn't physical. So maybe they are marketing to the mothers and fathers of today and tomorrow to try and be, I mean, it is already the world game, but even to have a bigger onslaught for customers of tomorrow. We look at the NFL. They've got concussion protocols that have been brought in because of the CTE issue. Now Australia has followed suit with the AFL and the NRL, and also rugby union and league. Now, where does that leave us? You either play tennis, you go into the business world, or soccer seems a really good alternative.
Absolutely. Definitely. You sort of nailed it there, mate. So, yeah, I personally see FIFA one day becoming its own network where they'll turn around and they'll say to themselves, hang on a second, why do we need all this broadcast money?
Yeah.
Why don't we do it ourselves?
What, and then to the individual networks?
We're in every single country in the world. We have billions of people watching us. It launched last year. They've got 211 million users. What happens in 10 years or 15 years? Right? So why not cut out the middleman? Why not?
Well, it's a very good point. But don't some sports do that currently now?
They do, but they're still heavily reliant on these other networks, but they don't have the global reach that FIFA does.
Yeah.
That's the difference here.
Like
you have a global reach.
Yeah, with the Australian Open, they'll turn around and they will have a central broadcasting hub, but then they will sell a deal to NBC or CNN or ESPN in America or Channel 9 or Channel 7 in Australia.
That's because they don't have the reach, Tony.
Correct.
To those markets. This is different. Their reach and their expansion is growing internationally because why? Because as a game, they're played all around the world. They have tournaments all around the world. They have women's teams all around the world. So they have an international presence. One of the truly only global presences around the world is FIFA's.
Yep. No, I totally concur.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see how that pretty much plays out. But I think in 10 to 15 years, they'll be their own big one.
I think the rate in which we have taken on technology, it could be in 2 to 3.
There you go, man. All right. So we've spoken about this with my other host, Rob, who unfortunately could not make it today. Juventus FC were pretty much penalised, a 10-point penalty earlier in the year. They were second on the ladder. They were demoted to 7th. At 7th, you're playing Europa League. At 2nd, you're playing Champions League and earning tens of millions of dollars. Huge financial hit, right? On top of that, they've just been fined $22.3 million, right?
Half of that suspended.
Okay. Why? The club's directors were accused of manipulating the player value in transfer dealings just to become compliant with fair play rules, right? So these guys, they can't catch a break. They seem to be getting themselves in trouble all the time, right? What are your thoughts, mate?
Look, I worry about for the future of Juventus in terms of, are they going to have to be forced to have a player cull by design, or will the players have an exodus by themselves? Will they turn around and say, we don't want to be a part of this because of lack of money moving forward for the next 2 seasons? Or do they want to stick with the black and white and move forward?
Well, not being able to play in the Champions League or in any European competition is a huge hit to their bottom line because there's millions of dollars that they miss out on. So their transfer window might be jeopardized now because of this decision, and it comes out now while things are in the middle of the transfer window. Like we're in the middle of it right now, the summer transfer window.
But do they lose their top players, or do the players leave of their own accord?
They will lose players because if they're playing Europa, there's all those big players, they want to play Champions League. It's not uncommon. It's known, right? So anyway, that's one of those things where they're going to have to find a way around it. But they are going through a very, very rough patch at the moment.
Yep.
All right, we'll keep going. This one's a big one, actually. Notre Dame, one of college football's biggest brands, just signed a deal with Under Armour for 10 years. It's worth over $10 million annually. This will pretty much position the Irish in a very, very strong position and at the top of the tree with all the other big colleges that have signed deals, such as the likes of Texas with Nike, Kansas with Adidas, all the American ways Adidas, Louisville with Adidas, Ohio State Nike, Nebraska Adidas, Michigan Nike. All these school deals are believed to be between $8 to $10 million a year. So this one was over $10 million annually in cash and gear. Under Armour won a bidding war against the other two giants, Nike and Adidas, which allowed them to extend their partnership, which they originally instated in 2014 when they replaced Adidas. The deal at the time was thought to be around $90 million, and now it's gone past $100 million over the 10 years. So for those of you that don't understand the way these deals work, is these deals are a core integral part of the revenue generation of these athletic departments. Yes, athletic departments, because these are colleges, ladies and gentlemen. College sports is a huge world. Media rights over $30 billion in total for the Power 5 conferences. What we're seeing here is a deal that's going to bring in a lot of value from their licensing fees, which range between $5 to $10 million, usually for these powerhouse schools in college football and basketball, as well as royalties from merchandise sales and so on. So this is a crazy deal. This deal really puts Notre Dame in the top echelon of college brands. These brands are worth billions of dollars, valued at billions of dollars, and they're literally every renewal becoming more and more expensive and increasing in value.
Yeah, and just so that everybody knows who Under Armour is, Under Armour was made famous by the Golden State Warriors three-point king Steph Curry. The brand is the two U's. So if you're looking at it on the screen, it's one U into an upside down U, which makes it Under Armour, which is huge. So that is U is the 21st letter of the alphabet. A is the first, which makes 22, which then signifies 2 next to each other, which is Under Armour. So Steph Curry has his own line of shoes. He was tempted to go to Adidas, Nike, and Reebok, and Under Armour presented him a deal, I think as far back as 2016, and has basically put them on the map. And now we find that some of the college giants, as in Notre Dame, have signed with Under Armour. It's a huge deal, as you said, and it will expose them to a greater slice of the market. So good on them.
So you reckon people out there don't know what Under Armour is?
I think some aren't familiar with it.
Wow. Okay.
Some.
I truly thought it was at the level of Nike and Adidas, but
Well, certainly in Australia, I think some people wouldn't recognise their logo.
There you go. Wow, interesting. Yeah, pretty much this is Notre Dame saying to all the other big boys, we are now at the top of the mountain. Your turn to try and
Yeah, I think it's a huge confidence boost for the people of Notre Dame to edge out the giants of Nike and Adidas. And, it's a lot of money. It's going to give them confidence to spend on their footy departments. So it's a huge win for Notre Dame.
Fantastic. Okay, we'll keep going. Well, we started with Jake Paul, and we're going to end with Jake Paul. So Jake Paul's better brand, better media, is rolling out real money fantasy sports game. Obviously, his Betr brand is a gambling/gaming brand, and what they've decided to do is now roll out literally pick'em style fantasy game. So the way it works is it allows you to acquire and engage real money gaming users like across the United States and choose different players and sort of bet on them. I know I probably haven't articulated it in the most simplest manner, but that's pretty much like a nutshell of it. But if we look at the gaming landscape and where this comes in, this now brings a whole different dynamic to your standard fantasy football and so on that's done by DraftKings and all the other players. So what we're seeing here is we're seeing a different way of doing things and really focusing on bringing the edge to this gambling/gaming world. And of course, it's Jake Paul that's doing it. He's pretty much, his co-founder is the Simple Bet co-founder. His name is Joey Levi. So these guys are bringing a different touch, trying to monetize and make the most of this gaming upsurge that's so, I think in today's world goes hand in hand with sport. I think the increase in TV viewership is due to these different gaming platforms. People are watching games longer because of different bets that they put on throughout games and so on and so on. Betr will be available by year's end in 30 states in the US, which is huge. And I think there's a lot of upside here. Some interesting stats. Usually, Better Media focuses on original and short form content, and their focus is 21 to 34-year-old males. The business says it has tailed more than 1.5 billion social media impressions. That's absolutely insane. In its first year of operation. So this is ridiculous. He's definitely onto something here. He's onto a winner. And, more money for Jake Paul, whether he loses or wins on Saturday night.
I think the key component that you brought up is it makes the sport interesting. Yes, sport by itself is interesting. We all align ourselves with different colours, different teams, different sports people. But to have that added incentive of winning or losing money, it creates more excitement. Now, I'm not pro-gambling. I'm not against gambling. But I think if that's your drug of choice, well, so be it. And I think if you can make it better and gambling emphasises that, so be it.
And for those of you that are looking for it, it's called Better Picks, and it's available in Alaska, Arkansas, California, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Kansas, Kentucky, Minnesota, Nebraska, New Mexico, North Carolina, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Oregon, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Washington, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. So there's a few of you out there that can access that. Ladies and gentlemen, Better Picks. If that's if that's what interests you, go out there and see what the fuss is all about. That pretty much brings us to the end of our segment. I mean, Tony, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise, Ahmed.
I'm going to give you the microphone. Give us a couple of words of wisdom to finish off with.
Well, if Jake Paul can belt Nate Diaz, the Lord will reign.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. The man himself said it. Take care. We'll catch you all next week on the Business of Sport. See you, everyone.